Several years ago, as I was teaching through the book of Revelation, I wanted to become confident that the events of the last day were all happening at the same time or within the same complex of events, and we're not separated by, say, 7 years or 1,000 years from each other. In other words, there are not two resurrections separated by a millennium, but that there's the resurrection of the righteous and the wicked on the same day, and other issues like that. And so, how I went about doing that, looking into that, was I looked up in the New Testament all of the passages that had to do with eschatology and named these events. And I was specifically looking for passages that would name an event or something that was happening and then gave a name to the when of when that was happening, say the day of the Lord or the coming of the Lord or the day of resurrection or that day or something like that. And so I made a table in an Excel, so I made a large Excel spreadsheet containing these passages where I broke them up into what's going to happen, when is it going to happen, and I added another column for, of course, the Bible verse that would say that, and the characteristics, if any, were mentioned, like it's going to happen suddenly or something like that. And I want to share with you how to read that and how to use that and how I came to my conclusions, so that one, you can know how to look at the table and utilize the information, and secondly, or two, you can check my work to see if I've done this well. And so let me share my screen with you and show you the spreadsheet. So here is the spreadsheet. What I want to point out first of all, is that I've got 4 tabs here where I've listed them in different orders. So this tab is, everything is listed according to canonical order, New Testament order. So you can just go through that and look at the passages I looked at. And basically there are 16 or 17 different passages I'm referring to here. When I originally started this, there were many, many more passages, but I saw lots and lots of duplication, and I thought I'd just narrow it down to a smaller group just so it was more manageable. So these are how it's sorted. You can see in this passage, Matthew 25:31 to 46, we have the judgment of the righteous, and also, according to the same passage, the judgment of the wicked. And the passage itself says this happens at the coming of the Son of Man, and no other characteristics are given. In Luke, we don't have any events or actions that are happening, Luke 12:39 to 40, but it is talking about the coming of the Son of Man and gives us characteristics of that day. You can go through and see everything else that's said there. Now, when it's sorted by event or action, this is now alphabetical. We have this first passage, Romans 8:18 through 23, and the event is the adoption as sons. It doesn't say when this occurs and doesn't give us any more characteristics. However, when you go back to canonical order and you look at the Romans 8 passage, you see that actually several things happen according to Romans 8 at the same time. So we have adoption as sons, redemption of the body, and revealing of the children of God. Now, when this occurs, when they're sorted according to when they occur, we have this column, C, it's the column they're sorted on. And again, it's alphabetical. And you can just look at that and see how many different passages are using the same terminology. And then we have the same thing for characteristics over here. So that's that table. That's the Excel table. Now, in addition to the Excel table, I also did some work in Word kind of summarizing this. And so let me pull that up and so I have one part of this up in Word and another part of this up in Paint, and that'll become evident why I'm doing that in just a minute. So, remembering the chart, what we have here in Word, I've listed the various passages that I'm referring to on that first sheet. I should also mention that on the Excel spreadsheet, I am referring to a couple of more passages than I have included in this summary. And I've highlighted those passages in red, and you saw one of them briefly in the Excel spreadsheet when we were looking at that. So we have these passages that I'm going to work with in the summary. There are 16 of them. They're listed in canonical order. And we also have what occurs, this column, and I've given them A through N, and these are also in alphabetical order, and these events and actions are in alphabetical order. Now at this point, nothing here is collated, and that's what this part is for over here. So let me show you how this works over here, how this summary. So you see I have the event and actions, same ones as there. I have the when this occurs, and I have the passages. And I have A would be the appearing of Christ. 1 would be Matthew 25:31 to 46. So how we would read this is you would look at, let's just start with the adoption of sons. The adoptions of sons takes place or is mentioned in number 7. And number 7 is Romans 8:18 through 23. And as you remember from what we looked at on the Excel spreadsheet, there are other things also mentioned there. That would be the deliverance of the creation from the curse, the redemption of the body, and the revealing of the children of God. So all of those things are mentioned in passage number 7, which is right here and right over here, Romans 8:18 through 23. Now there is no when mentioned in Romans 8. We don't know when any of this happens, but we do know that these things are all going to happen together. Now, we have another passage that mentions the deliverance of the creation from the curse, and that's this passage, number 16, over here. And that passage is Revelation 21, 1 through 4, and 22, 1 through 5. Also mentioned in that passage as occurring in the same time or at a time not separated by any amount of time, like 1,000 years or 3 years or 2 days, but all happens in the same complex of events, are also these other things, the end of death, and this one, the new heaven, the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. Now, these things are also referred to in other passages. The end of death is referred to in passage 12, 1 Thessalonians 4:15 through 5:3. It's also mentioned in passages 9 and 10, which are 1 Corinthians 15, 20 through 26, and 1 Corinthians 15, 51 to 54. As to the when that this might occur, will occur, H, the coming of the Lord, from these passages, and C and D. And C and D would be at the last trumpet and at the trumpet call of God. Now, you can go through the whole chart now and just say, okay, well, this happens on this end of death happens when the body is changed. So you would highlight that. And you would say, well, changing of the body also happens over here. And it happens at the same time as that and the same time as this. And that means all of these passages, all of these events all happen at the same time. And so you would go through the whole chart like that. Now, if this event happens at the same time as that event, and this is the same event, the resurrection of the dead, then it obviously happens at the same time as well. And so you would go through and do that type of thing. So here's another one that I missed earlier. This one happens the same time as that one. This one happens the same time as that one. Obviously, it's the same time here, 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 here. These are all the whens. They all happen at the same time. Since these two are happening, they're happening at the same time as these. This one here would happen at the same time as that. Same with this one and this one. This one would happen at the same time as that one, which we've already highlighted. This one will happen the same time as this one. This one up here happens the same time as that one. That one. So where are we left? Oh, we've got a couple outliers. Oh, how are we going to handle that? Let me think about this, because this worked fine. Ah, here it is, transformation of the body. Transformation of the body happens at the same time as these, but this one happens at the same time as that one, which happens at the same time as that one, and the same time as this one. So lo and behold, the entire chart is yellowed out, and meaning that everything happens in the same complex of events at the same time without any separation of 1,000 years or even 7 years or 3.5 years or any years at all. They all happen at the same time. So that's basically how you would go ahead and read the Excel chart and read my summary. So hopefully that has been more helpful than confusing. And, or you could just skip this video and look at it yourself and you can probably figure it out. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.